I'd like to talk to you about the hiring process, the very first step. Then in our next video or next class, we'll talk about the actual interview. If you remember from an earlier class, we talked about how you would do a job analysis to create a job description, and from that job description, you will write job-related questions for the interview. That's the best way to go. That's very thorough, and it shows that the questions that you ask in the interview relate to the job. For legal purposes, it's a good idea to do that. So let's say, for the purpose of this demonstration or instruction on hiring, that you want to fill a position in a fast food restaurant. You want the individual to have at least 2 years restaurant experience, have a high school or GED, be able to work weekends and holidays, and have a flexible schedule, which would be first, second, or third shift. So with that in mind, that's what you would post in your announcement for hiring someone, your job solicitation, and you stick to that. Once you post this, we usually give it, in today's economy, 2 weeks is a good period of time. You get a lot of resumes in a 2-week period of time. So you would post it when you do have the stop date. Let's say the deadline for our resumes is July 22nd at 3 p.m. Then the stop date is July 22nd, 3 p.m. Don't take resumes after that. As the resumes come in, date stamp them, and then you start to go through them, and you have 3 stacks. The first stack will be the yes, the second stack will be the no's, and the third stack would be the maybes. The first stack you would want to work from, that's your yeses. The maybes and no's, you put those to the side. If you find everyone you need, or you find a good group to interview from the yeses, you don't need to worry about the maybes and no's. From the yeses, what I normally do is put them in alphabetical order by last name. Then I start to call them in for an interview. Now the interview is about a week out. I've already checked with the interview team and when they're available, and set up a calendar on everyone's schedule that from 8 a.m. to 1 will be interviewing. I schedule the applicants to come in 20 minutes apart. That takes us about 20 minutes to interview one person. If it takes longer than that, it's okay. You still have some flexibility there. I build in a break session for us around 9:30, 9:45. I start calling the applicants, and one of the things you want to do on the resume is to write the date that you called them, the time, and the outcome, whether you reached them and they could come in, you reached them and you didn't reach them and left a message, or they weren't interested. From that, when they start calling you back, that's why you want that stack in alphabetical order, because the person's called back, they got your message and they want to make an appointment for an interview. So it's a little more efficient that way. Once you have the people for the interview who you want to see, you will need to send them an application. So I email it to them, and I tell them ahead of time, I'll be emailing you application, please complete front and back, sign it, and drop it off at the guard's office, or they can email it back to me. From there, I make copies for my team so that we all have copies to refer to as we talk to the applicant. When you get that application back, be sure that you look at it thoroughly. Make sure they've signed it, that you can, if you do choose them, that you can check for reference. But the little things that people overlook on an application is, do you have a high school or GED? If they don't, sometimes they say no, and then you'll skip over it and bring them in for an interview, and they don't even meet the qualification. You have to stick to your qualifications. The other is if they have a felony, yes or no. Sometimes they won't answer that, and most of the time they do not have one. But those are things you need to thoroughly check for. If you have any questions about the application, call them back and talk to the applicant. So we've gotten this far. Now you're ready for the actual interview. You've got your interview questions that we have written from their open-ended behavioral interview questions that we've written from the job description. So you'll make copies, set the team up, and the day will go very smoothly. So in our next session, we'll talk about the actual interview, the actual setting.